The Global Caregivers Network presents the first annual Global Male Caregivers Summit coming your way April 13th, 2024, beginning at 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Register on Eventbrite to hear from the most amazing and powerfully inspiring men as they share caregiving from the male perspective. Grab your ticket today and we'll see you there.
And I would like to thank all the male caregivers who have already presented, such amazing stories. I was taking notes because there's always learning opportunities, and also the male caregivers that are to come, after I leave the virtual stage. I would also like to thank everyone who's tuning in from around the world on various social media platforms. You didn't have to do it. It's your choice. And so thank you for taking the time, whatever that time may be, to really just want to support us male caregivers. And then number two, to potentially learn something, and to help someone else. Maybe there's someone else in your network that has been thrusted into caregiving. So I appreciate everyone from around the world. And then I would like to thank my wife for allowing me to be able to remove our armor, if you will, and to be able to show these videos and to help educate folks around the world in regards to this rare autoimmune disease called autoimmune encephalitis. That's what it's commonly known for. And so what I'm going to do briefly this morning is, one, tell you, a little bit about this rare autoimmune disorder. And then two, explain to you some behaviors associated with it, because the behaviors associated with it, they're common to psychosis. So a lot of times it's, a person is misdiagnosed because it's not super obvious that, maybe they're not, they're not bipolar or schizo. So maybe this is something else. The third thing is what type of treatment that is used initially, when it's diagnosed, if if it gets diagnosed, what type of treatment up front, and then ongoing treatment, because this is something that just doesn't go away. All right. And so some ongoing treatment. And then what did I learn? Some lessons learned from caretaking and caregiving for my wife for years until we finally got it diagnosed. And then currently, what I've recently experienced from not taking care of myself. You've heard some previous presenters talk about take care of yourself. I'll kind of close this out with, what does that even look like? What does that mean to take care of yourself? And I will tell you what I did not do and did not realize, and then the results of that. So autoimmune encephalitis is really titled anti-NMDAR receptor encephalitis, but it's commonly known as autoimmune encephalitis. And what it does is your immune system, it develops, as the doctors told me, it develops these very specific soldiers, if you will, and it thinks that the brain is foreign, and it attacks the brain, the receptors in the brain, so your brain cannot communicate and it cannot process the way it was designed to do. It disrupts the way a brain processes information. It was discovered, believe it or not, about 17 years ago. So in medical terms, in the medical space, that is recent. So a wonderful neurologist by the name of Joseph Delmal in 2007 was I call him my hero, who actually not only said, hey, this is what this is, but also started to describe it so the rest of the world in medicine can start to gain a better understanding of what this disorder really is. And just to provide some context, my wife had many flare-ups. When we say a flare-up, that's when her immune system started to attack her brain. And she had many flare-ups over decades. So this wasn't just something that just kind of came on and then all of a sudden, boom, we got a diagnosis. I mean, she was born with this disorder, and you know, she has experienced many flare-ups. Like in 2013, you know, she was in two ICUs. They had no idea what was going on, so she was misdiagnosed. She never ran a fever. So they were like, well, we believe you have an infection, but there's no fever. So it was confusing all of the medical folks. So again, but it's such a new diagnosis that no one thought, well, maybe, just maybe, this could be autoimmune encephalitis. People were saying, hey, she's having a mental breakdown, or she's having, she's having, some major depression. There's all kind of psychiatric diagnosis, but of course we found out in 2021 that was not the case at all. Not the case at all. The estimated number, and watch this one, the estimated number of people properly diagnosed a year in the world is 1 in 1.5 million people. However, after numerous discussions with the amazing medical team at Duke University Hospital, that they believe that there are a lot more people who are currently either committed in psychiatric hospitals around the world, or even living in your house, they have been diagnosed with some type of psychiatric disorder, and they're on medication, antipsychotic medications. They have been misdiagnosed. And so as we get to the end, I'll give you guys a reference where you can see a video and some more articles, which, Nicole's case was published to kind of help doctors around the world potentially properly diagnose people where they're just not committed to psychiatric hospitals, and that's actually not their real diagnosis. Approximately half of the cases are associated with tumors in the ovaries, and this disorder is more commonly found in women than in men. And so, some of the processes when they're trying to rule out things is they will do some scans of ovaries and things of that nature. They're looking for tumors because tumors can also cause this. And about 80%, again, of those affected, 80% of those affected are female. So 80% of those affected are female. And believe it or not, it typically occurs before the age of 45. And my wife, and she looks young as heck, she was actually over the age of 45 when she was diagnosed. And only about 440, latest research, actually have passed away from this rare disease. Now, the diagnosis, check this out. To be diagnosed properly, either you have to do a lumbar puncture and they have to send those results to the Mayo Clinic, or brain biopsy. That's the only two ways that you can be properly diagnosed with autoimmune encephalitis. That is it. And they're both invasive. And then the MRI of the brain is normally normal. So a lot of times they'll do an MRI of the brain and they'll say, all right, we're seeing some cognitive things. And they did that with my wife. They're like, okay, it's got to be maybe a tumor in the brain or this and that. And they would do an MRI, and believe it or not, the MRI would come back and they would say, she's healthy. It's got to be psychosis. There's nothing going on. All right. Here are some behaviors. Number one, they will never run a fever, which is interesting. So number one, some behaviors, some things to look for is if you have again, 80% are female. So if you have someone that's presenting some kind of random behaviors, psychosis, maybe similar to being paranoid, bipolar, maybe schizo, some of all of these different behaviors, and you keep taking them to the hospital, check to see if they're running a fever. If they're never running a fever, that could be an indicator. They'll have headaches. One time my wife had in 2013, she had such severe headaches that I was talking to her and she said, Mario, shut up, because you sound like gibberish. And so I'm like, okay, I like to talk, but I got it. But she wasn't in her normal state of mind. They'll feel tired, very tired. They'll start having non-epileptic seizures. They can have, seizures that are non-epileptic, some psychosis, catatonia, delusional. I mean, they can become paranoid, and there's more behaviors. But the interesting thing is they're all associated with, they have some type of psychiatric disorder, some psychiatric problem. And in this case, it's a very tricky disorder. The way it presents, it really hides, and it's hard to detect. And that's why I said, people do blood work. They'll do all of these tests, and they did it with my wife. They're like, she's healthy. They're like, everything is coming back normal. There's nothing wrong in psychosis. Maybe it was her childhood. Maybe there's some trauma when she was growing up. Maybe she has some PTSD. Oh yeah, I heard it all. And come to find out, it was none of that stuff. It was none of that stuff. So how do they treat it? So one, when you come into the hospital, and if the doctors kind of sense that we're going to rule out autoimmune encephalitis, if they confirm it, the first thing they'll do for the most part is they'll do immunosuppressive medications like a plasmapheresis. That's what they did with Nicole. So they had to wipe her immune system to get rid of those soldiers that were attacking her brain, and to remove those antibodies. The next thing they'll do is they can do an IVIG. And then again, that's what Nicole had to do, because the first treatment did not really remove all of those bad soldiers. So we had to go back in to Duke University Hospital, and then she did an IVIG. And then the continuity of care, what does that look like? Minimum, you'll be on rituximab, which is chemo, and you'll get that roughly every 6 months. Nicole started off with that every 6 months, but her immune system is so powerful and so stubborn that now she gets rituximab, which is chemotherapy, once every 4 months. Okay. The doctors told me that when they discovered this rare autoimmune disease or disorder, in any patient that's above the age of 45, normally they do not return back to baseline. Okay. And for Nicole, she was delusional. She hallucinated. She was paranoid. She was irritated. I mean, you name it. She presented everything. She lost her memory twice, complete memory. I had to reteach her what a toothbrush was. I mean, you name it. We went through it for, over a decade until they actually got a proper diagnosis. And we've been blessed. We thank God that she actually not only returned back to baseline, but she's even better. So we are thankful that she is back to her normal self. And of course, you guys know I'm on social media. If you don't know, you can go on any platform and you can see my lovely wife, joining me in some of the YouTube videos, TikTok videos, Instagram, your mamagram, your daddygram. You guys know the deal, Facebook, and see that literally it's like it never happened. Although she still lives with it. It's still there. And we just got done getting her most recent treatment at Duke University Hospital, about 6-7 hour treatment of chemo, rituximab, but she is doing amazing. So what did I learn? What can I share with you all in male caregivers? And you guys heard a lot of great things from the previous male caregivers. And I'll leave the most important one to last. Number one, understand that the person or people you're caregiving for, they actually don't want to be in this state. Half of them probably don't even know what they're doing. So if they say something or if they're doing something that you don't understand why, if they attack you verbally, if they're paranoid, if they get upset or mad, or they just don't want you to care for them, just understand that that's maybe not them. It could be the disease, the disorder, it could be medication, but don't take it personally. I mean, you're going to absorb it. You're going to get emotions. We're all, human beings, but just remember, they don't want to be in this position. No one wakes up in the morning and go, hey, you know what? I want 2 pounds of, of autoimmune encephalitis, and I want it delivered to my house and, overnight. No. Number two, Number two, ask for help. And then what does that even mean? I used to be like, I don't even know what it means to ask for help. I didn't know what it meant. Now I know what it means, but so not just ask for help, but ask yourself, what does that even mean? Get on networks like Sherelle has with these amazing male caregivers. Get on LinkedIn, design that network. You heard some of the previous presenters talk about groups that they join. Do that because, like Dr. Ackerman mentioned, there's not training. There's no specific training that you can go through and get certified. And now you have all the soft and hard skills to be one of the best caregivers on earth. That's not the case. I mean, for me, I had 26 years in the Marines, did well, enjoyed it. If I had a chance to do it all over again, I would. But nothing prepared me for caregiving for my wife. No training, no preparation. The toughest thing I had to do in my life was not just to caregive for her, but point number three, caregive and continue to support the family as a man, to continue to be there for my children, pay the bills. There's more. I would wish that life would just stop around me and I could just caregive, but that's not the case. Life doesn't stop. They don't stop. There will be deaths in the family. You're going to grieve. So now you're caregiving, you have this chronic stress. Maybe there's an unexpected death in the family or multiple deaths. Things happen. Maybe you can't work like you used to. Maybe there's some financial stress. So remember that life is not going to stop. So you're going to have a lot of stress on you, and just be ready for that. Because number four, my last point is, I thought I could handle it. I was like, hey, I'm a sergeant major. I'm a United States Marine. I can handle this. And that was a false belief, because what I realized recently is the effects of the chronic stress. I actually was just recently diagnosed with major depressive disorder. And when I went to my psychiatrist about 3 weeks ago, we went through my entire military journey, and he said, you're good. From the combat deployments to the humanitarian assistance, all the stress associated with being in the military. He said, you were good. He goes, you know what got you, if you will, it was caregiving. It was the chronic stress of the family dynamics, not being prepared for caregiving, not understanding what help means. And that's what happened. Chemical imbalance. I was like, man, I am losing control of my brain. And here I am in front of you today. Good medicine, good therapy, and I'm back in action. Not 100%. So get into therapy. Don't wait for your brain to have a check engine light come on. They need you. I'm just thankful for God that this happened afterwards, because now my wife was taking care of me. Hey, Sherelle, we probably have her on your next show for caregiving for Mario. But take care of yourself. And what I mean by that is, don't wait. Get a therapist, get a psychiatrist, get the whole team, and then work with professionals as you're caregiving, so that way you don't have the moment like I did, where now everything just piled up and now they're caregiving for you. If you want to learn more about this rare autoimmune disorder, please go to my Facebook page. I actually pinned the article that was published in psychiatrist.com. You can watch the entire video that they published in this Journal of Medicine, and it's amazing. And also, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, or just put Mario P. Fields in the search engine, and all my social media come up. I love you all. Thank you so much. And God bless those who are currently caregiving, and then those who may be thrusted into caregiving today. And thank you so much, Sherelle. I truly appreciate this opportunity.
The Global Caregivers Network presents the first annual Global Male Caregivers Summit, coming your way April 13th, 2024, beginning at 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Register on Eventbrite to hear from the most amazing and powerfully inspiring men as they share caregiving from the male perspective. Grab your ticket today and we'll see you there.